All right, so the podcast is officially starting, and you just got to wait for it. It's the anticipation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thundrcast. I'm your host, Dave Lipson, along with Andrew Charlesworth. Let's get it on! Welcome, guys. Welcome. Today's special guest is Marcus Philly, multiple games athlete individual, zero hair, totally tan, muscles popping, hair flowing. You know you want it. Marcus, welcome to the show.
I feel like I've finally been introduced the right way. I mean, up until this point, nobody has really hit the nail on the head like that. Thank you for the intro, and thanks for letting me join you guys.
I also love how you said zero hair, then hair flowing. That was absolutely genius, Dave.
That's right. Yeah. Which one is it? Dude, I don't know how Marcus does it, man. How does your wife manage, like when you're in the gym and your shirt is off and the fucking muscles are popping out and like chicks are staring at you, like how does your wife handle that? How is she? Is she just like, God damn it, another shirtless fucking video of Marcus? Is like half the followers are just getting there, whatever, they're all like, look at Marcus. You're like, geez Louise, like
I think what does she say? There's like a clear difference between the guy that like exudes like sex and is like trying to put out the vibe, and then a guy that's just like clearly too focused on other things to even like put that out. And I think I fall into the latter category. So she's pretty comfortable with me. Like, I mean, with her, it took, she was like trying to flirt me up and get me interested for a long time. And I was so checked out. Like I was so not focused on like putting out my own vibe for the women around me that I think she realized, like, I don't know if I'm gonna have to worry about this guy like getting into too much trouble with other people, other women at the gym, because I kind of put my head down and get pretty focused when I'm in there.
I think there's a healthy balance there. With social media, it obviously, you're only going to be as loud as your voice can reach, and you want people to be able to actually see you, and it helps if you have something to say. But at the same time, like half the girls out there watching your videos going like, there's Marcus getting it on with the kettlebells, loving it. So, hey, first things first, let's take a step back. Marcus, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you on here. I wanted to take a moment before we start just to kind of give people a background on you, kind of a training history background, how you got to where you were as an athlete and as a coach now. So what's your story, dude? Where did you actually come from?
Oh man, I actually did a podcast recently, and all we talked about was like my childhood years before I even got to like college. And so it was good to take a little trip down memory lane with regards to my athleticism and my athletic pursuits. But essentially I was just like played different ball sports growing up and got into soccer and was like a primary sport for me. But somewhere in the kind of high school, and definitely in the college years, I just really fell in love with strength conditioning, resistance training, bodybuilding, all things gym. And that really transformed into a passion for training more so than sport when I was in college, and we got some Division I and, strength conditioning coaching, kind of your basic, getting taught the power lifts, getting taught power clean, power snatch, doing some plyometrics training, and just getting after it in the gym with other guys that were really serious about their fitness. And that just sparked like I said, a love for training more so than the sport. So I quit my sports and I got really into training to just be the fittest I could be. And this was pre-CrossFit. So I didn't even know CrossFit yet. I was just like, I want to be able to squat a ton. I want to be able to ride my bike like on these long 50-mile endurance rides, like really fast. And I also would be at the track doing sprint work and agility work and taking some of the things I learned as like a soccer player that applied to my sport and just kept doing them because I like feeling explosive and whatnot.
Nice.
And that just dovetailed really well into my introduction to CrossFit in about 2009 when I saw this sport, or rather this fitness method that was incorporating tons of stuff that I really like to do already in a way that I just would have never imagined possible.
Yeah, that's so funny. It sounds so familiar though, because Andrew and I are both former athletes, and I think Andrew, you were basketball, you were a baller, I was a baseball player,
I was.
and I think that when I think when you develop as a kid and you develop an aptitude for athletics, I think you're basically on the path to setting a lifelong habit in terms of just that process of preparing yourself, right? The way you prepare for sport, the way you prepare your body. And oftentimes the preparation that people do for the performance of their sport, that's obviously a very specific goal, but the principle of applying stress to your body and getting a result, that's more of something you can apply throughout your life. And I think that's why we see so many athletes that love training and love fitness, because it's just that idea of creating a response in your body, and that very meditative process of being in the gym every day, and hitting the iron, and being able to see and reap the benefits and results. It becomes an addictive thing. And in contrast, some people who don't have that, it can be hard for them to wrap their head around why you want to suffer. They just don't get it. I don't know if you guys have friends and family members that are just like, hey, we're really concerned with what's going on with the weightlifting. We don't like that. That's making us feel uncomfortable. The same thing with the way you eat, right? They're like, you go out to dinner and you order the hamburger with no bun, double patty and cheese and no French fries, and they're like, why can't you just enjoy life for once? They just don't get it.
Well, you want to say, actually, I'm enjoying life a lot. I'm not sure you are, and let's have a conversation about how dedicated you are to the things that you really care about. But I totally resonate with that. It was like my athletics and sporting career. Always the most fulfilling portion of that was the training and the preparation, and getting up early and going down and running hill sprints near my house, not the actual game. And when it came time to actually play the game, I didn't ever really get into it.
I want to touch more on that, Marcus, because I think that's a attraction that brought me and Dave together, where since we're both athletes, you just say you were so attracted to the training for your sport. Do you remember that time when you said you played soccer, when you realized man, I just really love training almost more than I actually like playing the game? Or was that kind of how you got your passion for it rolling? Or
yeah, I think it really got sparked in high school. I had this really he was I don't even know how to describe him, but he was a goalkeeper. He was my goalkeeper coach, and this guy was probably about 10 years older, maybe 12 years older than me, had kind of gone through the high school, college soccer scene. And I just looked up to the guy. He showed up one day to coach me the first day, and he just laced up and just jumped in and was just doing training with me. And he was kicking my ass. And I was like, holy this guy doesn't even play anymore. And he's and so we would just go at it back and forth, training. Goalkeeper training, for those people that don't know, is awesome. It's you're diving around, up and down, doing lots of high intensity bursts. And it was just this pure athleticism, push-ups, jumping, diving, taking shots off your face. It felt hardcore in my mind. And so I just fell in love with that part of it. And then we'd go and play these games, and I would stand in the goal for 90 minutes and touch the ball 8 times. And I was like, this sucks. I would much rather be, diving around for an hour and getting a great workout in.
That's nice. That's so funny.
Dave, what do you think about that? I know you and I have talked personally, but you had that inspiration when you were playing baseball.
The first time I trained, Andrew, it had nothing to do with baseball. I was like, hey, I'm 14 years old. Right.
I want
some fucking chicks, right? I'm going to drive and have a motorcycle. I'm going to ride around the school. I'm going to have a fucking leather jacket and some guns. So I got to do my bicep curls. So it was not performance related for me. I was lucky that in baseball, I was I was talented enough just to kind of get by without really training, and that took me pretty far until I injured myself. And then it wasn't until I sustained, like, you know, I had an arm reconstructed, and I was a pitcher, so it wasn't until that happened, when the God-given gifts were kind of taken away to some degree, that I was like, okay, if I want to compete at this level, I need to do something else, right? I got to go beyond what other people are doing, because the arm is going to be the weak link, so I got to make the rest of me as formidable as possible. And what ended up happening was I became a lot better at training than baseball.
Yeah.
My baseball ability, was kind of superseded by my ability to prepare. My teammates wanted to train with me, and that very naturally led, after my career in pro ball, into a career as a trainer for baseball players and football players. And then, with the introduction of CrossFit, I was just fucking pissed. Like, I was so mad, because I'd been training for 10 years, right? I'd been training for a good solid 10 years, paying people to train me to make the best I could be. And after my first CrossFit workout, I'm like, what the fuck? I've never really trained before.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done that to myself. And it just made sense to me, being studying the things that I studied in college, involved a lot of sciences, a lot of biology. There's this idea of a general adaptation syndrome, which is very universal for most like organic organisms. Like the stress you place on an organism tends to create a response, right? So they're going to adapt to the stresses you place on it. So with your training, and this is what's so devastating about training, is like the fitter you become, the harder you have to push, the more you have to suffer, the more extreme everything has to be to continue to adapt. So, that first time you're in the gym, if you've never trained before, you could literally do anything. You could lift a fucking soup can and probably get a response out of it, because you're untrained.
Yeah.
And then as you become trained, it requires more weight, more speed, maybe more diversity of movements, more different types of programming to continue to get that kind of response out of your body. But I think in some ways it becomes a little bit of an addiction, right? I don't know how much we actually differentiate. The brain differentiates between pain and pleasure, but I imagine that they're pretty similar at their core, right? And I do love to suffer. It's like purging. I want to purge myself every day, and be able to walk away from the gym knowing that I really emptied the tank and poured my heart out. And that's not only like a very personally gratifying thing, but I think in some ways it makes you a lot better in other parts of your life, because you've taken the baggage out,
That kind of leads us, Dave. Actually, that was a perfect bridge, because Marcus, when I was talking to a lot of our, I love saying our fans, I was talking to a lot of our fans, and common questions like, hey, do you guys utilize functional bodybuilding in your Thunderbro finishers and your Thunderbro training? And this is, I won't want to say controversial, our first guess, but like, we are in the same world, I guess, with functional bodybuilding and what Dave and I are doing with Thunderbro. And what we're trying to do is eliminate this group of categories, right? Like, I do this type of training, I do this type of training. So we couldn't be happier to have somebody who is right in our space for our first guest. So can you tell us, like, how did you actually, in kind of a short paragraph, basically, how did you develop functional bodybuilding, and what was the need for it for you?
Great. Yeah. Well, first, let me just say that I'm totally in agreement. I mean, we have similar audiences. We have people that probably, look to both of our different platforms for ideas around how they're going to navigate a certain set of problems that they have. The problem that I see or I saw was going from what Dave was saying. It's like we all found CrossFit, fell in love, and we started to kind of smash ourselves with it for a bunch of years. At some point, that crossed over into really like a feeling of a less than fulfilling physical and emotional and mental feeling, which was, God, I feel like shit. I really am just, and that was me being competitive.
Marcus Philly's first word on the podcast. We got it.
Yeah. it was me being a competitor within the sport. But even those people I was looking at around me that weren't competing at a high level in CrossFit, who were doing it in my gym and my affiliate, that I just knew, that were getting more trained in the fitness method, and were able to push greater levels of intensity because their mechanics were starting to get better. They were able to lift more load. They were able to go faster. Their skills were improving. There was like diminishing returns. It was like, man, people are starting to feel beat up. I was feeling beat up certainly year after year after these seasons got longer and more involved, and the tests of fitness were more demanding. And my, the culmination of my 2016, games season was take 3 weeks off and then go play, a sport called grid, which was, for people that know about it, was like basically CrossFit on steroids at like the highest.
Literally.
It was nuts. So yeah, it was like all this great fitness, this thing that I loved that made me feel great when I started it, was now making me basically feel pretty like physically worthless, for phases of the year and periods of the year. And so, yeah, back to your question, it's, functional bodybuilding really came out of this recognition that we can't just use intensity as the sole metric that is going to dictate success, that there is a whole category of movement, contraction speed, contraction type, that people are not looking to balance out their training, to make it more sustainable for the long term, to give people feel like good, like really good, satisfying feelings when they leave the gym, not just I feel wiped and drained, and that must mean that I did something good for myself. And so essentially it's like, how do I get the love back for training again? Not give up that, periodic, I'm going to push myself and go into the pain cave. But for the vast majority of the time that I'm training, how do I create practices that are sustainable, that keep me consistent, and, looking good as well, which is what most people are here for.
Absolutely. Right, Dave? I know.
Oh man, that sounds so familiar, right, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, Dave, will you talk about though for a second, how we were in the same realm and we had a slightly different audience, because we put, hey, do you want to look like an athlete, or do you just want to have your grade score be 129? Like what do you actually want? Because those can be at odds with each other. And I know you talk about that in some of the books and at our camps, but can you dive into that slightly?
There's an argument to be made for aesthetics, and like I said, like, hey, why'd you start training? Like when you were a little kid, why'd you start training? For most people, it's like, I wanted to look good. I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to have muscles. And I don't think that goes away. In fact, if you ask, I'm sure most of your clients, Marcus, if you ask 99% of them why they're in the gym, they'll say, I want to look good and feel good. And,
but 100% of them at some point will say, yeah, well, I still want to look good. Nobody wants to look bad.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to look bad. But my point is, like, most of them don't come in the gym, right? They're not coming in the gym the first time because they're like, I want to be the fittest man on earth, right? That's usually not the reason. Yeah, totally. And the great paradigm shift that CrossFit has made is they've taken what was the standard in the fitness industry, which is solely chasing aesthetics with programs that are not even that effective. People don't know what they're doing. They're there aimlessly wandering through the gym by themselves, and they're looking at these people who are juiced up on steroids doing bicep curls. But for a natural athlete, that won't even get you muscles, let alone the fact that bicep curls will never cure metabolic disease, which is the problem for most people.
I love that line.
So, they found CrossFit, and they're like, holy shit, these functional movements, not only do they work, not only do they get me looking good, but they give me capacity and they give me health. And that is a really powerful thing. And then at some point, peer pressure starts affecting them. They start seeing things on Instagram, other athletes in this gym, the whole competitive aspect of it. And all of a sudden, they feel pressured to maybe train a certain way or have a certain goal, which may not even be the goal that they actually want. And they end up training in this fashion where they're over-programming for themselves, or programming beyond their ability levels.
Well,
or
I also think there's. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. You're on a roll.
Yeah, well, so you end up with this person who's now on this track where they're ending up with some issues like, hey, I'm not progressing anymore. I'm not feeling so great. Maybe I'm breaking down orthopedically. Results have plateaued. Or, they go in the gym and they end up feeling bad because they didn't squat snatch 300 pounds that day. But the fact of the matter is that their goals are to look good and feel good. So why should they feel bad that they're not the fittest athlete on earth? Why are they comparing themselves to the 1% when that 1% doesn't even really reflect what they truly want in their hearts? I'm sure the picture you painted when you were talking about, hey, I was really starting to beat myself up. I mean, believe me, Andrew and I have both been down that road, me to the point of multiple injuries and surgeries, which was the first time that we had to look at this hard and go, like, what do I want to get out of my training? Like, what is it that I really want? And does my training actually reflect the goals that I'm chasing? If I just want to look good and feel good, why do I keep injuring myself trying to do, max effort deadlifts and keep up with the volume of games athletes? That's not even going to get me there.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Marcus?
Well, I mean, I was going to jump in and add something to that, but I mean, I totally am in agreement with everything you just said. And that's, people need to listen to the fact that this is coming from, the two of us, this group of individuals talking about this who are really knowledgeable. Like, we know a lot, and we're still falling victim to these, this, what you're calling peer pressure. I see it also as just poor education on the part of coaches and trainers that are out there. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a lot.
Safe.
Okay. There are so many fitness instructors, primarily in the CrossFit world, that are out there that are basically just taking this message of elite fitness will heal all people's problems, will get people to look lean, to be stronger, to cure metabolic syndrome. Like they just like that's the message that was basically marketed for a long time, and it got lost in the level one education process, or perhaps it was there in the level one education, but then coaches go back to their affiliate. Yeah. They are watching social media and they're seeing, badass athletes crushing all this crazy volume. Rich Froning, his 4-year run totally changed the landscape of how people programmed. And then next thing you know, coaches are telling members who walked in saying, hey, I want to get fit. I heard this CrossFit thing was good. A week later, they're like, you have to go faster. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do the 3 regionals workouts today in one session because that's what Rich did. And this is going to get you guys, popping muscles or something, there's a huge disconnect. So like you were saying, there's a part peer pressure. The people that were educated within the community were getting pressure to think they needed to keep up. And then there were this group of people that were they were totally misguided. They showed up saying, I just want to be fit and healthy. And they were spoon-fed this notion of, you actually have to trash yourself and go ham every day, 5 days, 6 days a week, and then come for second sessions later and do accessory work, all of that just so that you can, get out of bed and feel good and play with your kids. It's
I'll tell you what. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm diving more into that, Marcus, because I run a gym with 200 people, and I completely changed everything. Where I found a training company, and we're actually kind of partners with them now. But we're just interested in building the aerobic base. So we're trying. I'm sure you're familiar with like the Maffetone method. Dr. Maffetone, ring a bell, maybe.
Definitely rings a bell, but you're going to be
anyway, like building the aerobic system. And what the challenging thing is that me, Dave, yourself are all trying to figure out is making health and fitness sexy again. Because when people think of health and fitness, they typically think of granola, sales at Myers where you can buy organic. You guys don't even have Myers. Shit, I'm a Midwest guy.
I know.
Okay. Sales at Myers where you can buy organic food. And what we're doing, what Functional Bodybuilding and Thunder Bros doing is we're saying, hey, stop fucking killing yourself. It is not going to make you look better. and decrease that maybe intensity and focus a little more on getting back to, a little bit of body part training and seeing how you feel. How do you sleep? How are you responding to food? How is your overall recovery happening? And how do we make that sexy again? I think you're doing a great job, and we're definitely on the road to that. Is that how you feel that your brand is like trying to establish that health and fitness can be quote unquote cool?
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely my core audience is mostly people that already think health and fitness is cool. They're usually they have been, certainly initially, lots of burnt out CrossFitters. And yeah, now we're starting to bridge this other gap, which is like folks in conventional gyms doing the programs that Dave was talking about that are not really getting them anywhere. They get people that are using anabolics or whatever drugs to like help enhance their aesthetic and performance, but they're not helping these individuals who are just like you said, wandering aimlessly around the gym trying to find the best place to do a set of curls. It's sort of, we're attracting them and saying, hey, you know what, you can get aesthetic benefits out of doing functional training, and come and check out maybe this sort of soft entry point into what you would normally be like a little bit hesitant to try, which is CrossFit. And absolutely, like, I don't for a second think that my voice alone is what has driven my social media audience. It's like it's got to look sexy, and there's got to be some clickbait there, and people need to see, if they see, hey, whoa, that guy's got his shirt off, he's got good muscles, and there's some pretty good photography. What is he saying? And then they read, and then there's something of substance there that goes beyond just like, try this mind-numbing workout. I think the combination of both is what's going to help us reach more people and either get them out of the Globo gym doing or enhance their experience in the Globo gym, or take the person who's already too far over to the other end of the spectrum with high intensity fitness, thinking that there's nothing else out there for them, and bring them kind of in sort of a middle ground.
So I want to steer this conversation a little bit more into the how. Like how those adjustments actually take place. And I want to comment on one thing, just on the perception and the scope of CrossFit. Me personally, and I know Andrew shares the same sentiments, like we are 100% believers in CrossFit. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think there's another fitness program out there that produces results at the same magnitude and with the same reach, obviously, the impact that CrossFit's had on the entire world. And it's so cool to be a part of that. But one thing that I've observed about the program that's now, I've been doing it and coaching it for over 10 years is that CrossFit is potent. I mean, it packs a punch. It's very effective. And like any potent drug, it must be prescribed responsibly. So I think in some of the issues that you're bringing up, like, hey, people are getting burned out, or they're ending up with injuries, or they're overtraining, or this is not going to be sustainable for them. I think it's not necessarily within the prescription that the problem lies. It's more of like the application of the program that sometimes needs adjusting. And the common mistakes you'll see is things like too much volume, too much intensity too soon, too much complexity. I'm a big fan on keeping it simple. I'm not really worried so much as to how many unbroken muscle ups you can do if you can't bang out 10 strict pull-ups and 10 strict ring dips yet. And so the foundations need to be there, but people just want to skip right to the sexy stuff. They want to get right to...
The good part about what you said, though, right there, Dave, is it is so potent, but what is the mechanism that drove it to what Marcus was saying about people doing too? Was it social media? Was it the games? Like what? Because you're so right.
Yeah, and it kind of like begs the question, like, let's say there was no more CrossFit Games. Like, ooh, CrossFit Games is gone, no more. What are you doing here? Like, what do you want? And I think for most people, it's certainly myself, is I came up with the conclusion that number one, I want to look good. I want to have imposing physicality. When I walk in a room, I want people to know that I train, because I like working hard on my body, but I want to be able to show it. And And after injuring myself, it limited me as to thinking like, well, if I'm going to have a goal, it probably shouldn't be powerlifting. It probably shouldn't be competing at the CrossFit Games, but it could be something like competing in classic physique. And at the same time, I love CrossFit so much, and I know the very compelling effect it has just on functionality and longevity and a general capacity to use your fitness. The idea was, hey, let's blend the two together. Like maybe if I can't train heavy because my discs are damaged, maybe I can do hypertrophy work that's slow and controlled, and I can still develop strength and musculature without having to load myself up that way. Or if I'm constantly breaking down and I've got a shoulder injury, maybe it makes more sense, instead of just doing more heavy push jerks and snatches, to do some hypertrophy work for my shoulder, so that not only am I getting the aesthetics, but I'm fortifying joints. I'm working on weaknesses and common areas of breakdown so that I can continue to train. And even beyond that, there's this idea of modulating intensity. Like, I don't think that athletes should go in the gym every single day and floor it and redline it. I think that's something you should do selectively for two reasons. If you floor it like that every day, usually that's not a sustainable thing. The intensity ends up getting sacrificed. And secondly, you end up with things like the inability to recover, the inability for your hormones to recover, having cortisol jacked up all the time. So more isn't better, right? It's hard to take that away because people love to go hard and they love training.
You said it was a drug. It's hard to take a drug away.
Yeah, exactly. They just want it, but it doesn't always line up with the goal. So what are some ways that you've adapted the program from just CrossFit? What are some things you've added or omitted or tweaked a little bit to allow it to be a sustainable thing for people and for them to be able to meet their goals more specifically?
Nice.
Yeah, wow, there's so much packed in there. I wanted to touch on a few things. I want to also first say that I have a great deal of respect and love for specifically CrossFit as a sport. It's something I'm still very passionate about. I love seeing the extent to which it will challenge individuals, both physically, mentally, spiritually. The CrossFit, the fitness method and the practices, what Greg Glassman wrote about in the early days, I was extremely drawn to. Have a tremendous amount of appreciation for what he gave to all of us, and I do believe that some of those tenets have been lost or forgotten along the way, and what was the driving force behind the misguidance of so much CrossFit prescription. I feel like it was the sport of CrossFit, definitely, without a doubt, but I know that's debatable.
Probably a bunch of a-hole coaches too.
Yeah, who were just totally into the sport, and we're like, this is awesome, let's give everybody this. But if we're looking at how do we prescribe this constantly varied functional movement, high intensity, I look at that, I'm like, okay, well, I think what's going to create some more sustainable practices for people is if we de-emphasize the high intensity aspect of it. I do believe there needs to be a dose of intensity within people's training prescription, but because that the tolerance for intensity is so individualized based upon people's lifestyle, nourishment, their
stress level, sleeping, eating,
all of it, that it's we're safer in giving people moderate intensity and then determining after a period of time what their tolerance is for training stress, and then in select cases ramping it up for people where it's necessary. There's sort of like this, I don't even know how to put a number on it, but like, let's say it's 75% effort zone of intensity that has a powerful ability to elicit adaptation responses in individuals, make them feel good, balance out their energy systems, get them to drop body fat, and it's nowhere, and it doesn't have to be anywhere near that max effort that where they're like literally pushing threshold.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I'd like to get your take on this, Marcus, is I don't disagree with anything you said right there. I think that there is a time and a place to put your foot to the floor, and then there's a time to build a base and to spend Andrew and I talk about this idea of like, the quality of your training program is based on the total number of days that you can accrue workouts with good movement and good intensity without being injured and recover for the next session. So it's really a math game. Like how many quality total reps can you accumulate in a year? And if if the intensity ends up reducing that because you can't recover or because you got injured, then you're actually losing the quality of the program because you're not having as much time under tension. One thing I would say, though, with regard to intensity, is that I believe people look at intensity with too narrow of a scope. And when I say that, what I mean is people think the only way to get intensity is to put more weight on the bar or to go faster.
Yeah.
And I believe that there's more to it. You need intensity to adapt, right? That's the general adaptation syndrome. We talked about it. You have to stress yourself beyond what you are accommodated to. But that doesn't mean you can't stress yourself beyond what you're accommodated to by working things with a tempo, or by working new positions, or by working new movements or new ranges of motion. So I don't think that intensity has to be removed. I think we need to be more creative with intensity beyond that scope of heavy or fast.
And I'm just changing the language about it too because of of what you just said. People have such a narrow scope of intensity, and if you talk about intensity, they think they have to do one thing, and all the things that you mentioned, changing up movement cadence, ranges of motion, types of loading, implements, whatever, all of that stuff is a way to change the stimulus and actually get people to do things that are intensive. But if we call it intensity, I don't know. That's been my approach, is with functional bodybuilding, change the language. And the big picture was, how do we get people to feel like they're working hard, like the similar like realm of like pedal to the floor, doing burpees and kettlebell swings, but through totally different means.
Yeah.
And actually recover and actually absorb the training that they're doing.
Yeah. And that's essentially what the programs and the approach to coaching has been. And, a lot of the same things that you just mentioned. It's like, give somebody an exposure to doing true high time under tension resistance training. They're going to lower their loads because that's the only way that they can maintain, that type of cadence in a squat, for example. You give them rep ranges that take them to 75 seconds of time under tension in a squat, and they're still able to focus and think about what they're doing and connect mind and muscle and actually like develop motor control rather than just falling into positions that they don't have.
And that should probably be the hierarchy of athletic movement, is you have to be able to do it slow and controlled. You need the strength and stability in the joints and muscle groups before you start adding the speed. But people want to go right to the speed a lot of times. And
I think that's what I know that's what Greg Glassman thought when he first founded this whole principle. It was like he was working with athletes that already had a base of training under them and was giving them benchmark workouts. It wasn't taking, Dave off the street who had never done a workout and who just showed up at your gym saying he was, 40 pounds overweight and saying, okay, let's benchmark the shit out of you. Like, no.
Let's benchmark the shit out of you. Marcus and Dave, I know you both agree with this. This is the thing, though, right? People want to hurt themselves in the gym with intensity, in my opinion, because they have a shitty diet. If I hurt myself, I can go eat sugar at night. If I hurt myself, and I know that sounds really stupid, like, oh, there's so much more science, but that's what I've seen, right? If I can somehow train at such a high intensity, then I can eat whatever I want.
There you go. Eat big, train big.
Yeah, and I get it, but what's the avenue with you? Because your culture, it seems total hipster, and I fucking love it, where it's like you have nutrition in there, you have recovery, you have good music. I feel like my adrenal system's recovering when I'm watching some of your videos. Like, what's the can you talk about that for a second? Because Dave and I have a ton on we got a guy, Stan Efforting, with the vertical diet. We talk a lot about recovery. And is that part of functional bodybuilding as well? And can you speak to that as an athlete or coach yourself and what you typically do and see with clients in nutrition recovery?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, behind functional bodybuilding is, the parent company, which is Revival Strength. It's my coaching organization. It's the company that employs the six coaches that coach people worldwide, virtually and here in San Rafael. Functional bodybuilding was really just, sort of a name that I put to some of the training, the training programs and principles that I've been showing for a long time on social media. There's also a sexy name that got people to pay attention. And it definitely, I've defined it by a certain, set of principles and approaches, a lot of what we're talking about right now. But if I back up and say, okay, well, what's the philosophy of Revival Strength as a company, and how do we approach coaching clients? Well, from a program design standpoint, there's a lot of influence of functional bodybuilding in this notion of we have to manage people's intensity, and we have to do that in an individualized way and really think critically about what that person can tolerate. What they can tolerate is based on their lifestyle, nourishment, recovery, sleep, etc. Those practices, the stress that they have from family, work. So we do comprehensive evaluations of all of that through questionnaires, through food profiles. In certain instances, we'll partner with, medical doctors to look at people's hormones and look at their gut health and, do blood panels, so that we can really get this like big picture look at where does a person sit on the health sickness continuum. And if this person's really healthy and they recover well and they eat good food, then we give them intensity. If that's what they want.
Even for a diet, you can even apply that same principle to diet. Like, diets are scalable, meaning totally. If Joe eats pizzas and drinks Mountain Dew, having some soda water and some vegetables and meat on the pizza is a good step forward.
Absolutely.
But for somebody who's already eating whole foods, and is already doing the big things well, right? Then it becomes more of a game of precision and accuracy. It's like, okay, what are the fine-tuning things that go in? What about, what this might be where you start to introduce pre- and post-workout supplements or individual, micronutrients and meal timing and those finer tweaks. But, obviously people, they want the easy pill. They want the smaller tweak first, expecting they're going to get a big result from it. But really, I think that, when you're thinking about training and the adaptive response, what you do in the gym is important, and it's probably secondary to what you're doing outside the gym.
Absolutely.
Your ability to sleep well and to not only ingest the right macro and micronutrients, but to be able to absorb them and utilize them. And do that on a consistent basis, just like we talked about the total amount of quality training days you can accumulate. What are the total amount of quality sleep days you can accumulate, quality eating
that's
days?
Real good.
I look at this, I joke around with it, but like I look at my poop every day. I want to see a good, hard, floating poop. And if you ever get one of those immaculate, no white poops.
Dude, I had one of those today.
Those are fucking amazing, bro. You're like, what the hell?
You stand right up and you're like, I am a king.
Oh God!
It's called an ace, and I agree. I mean, that's something that a lot of the same language that I like to use with our clients and people and messaging that I put on social media. It's the consistency of all of this is what matters more than how well and how perfectly you did any one thing.
And doesn't that just rhyme with that idea of sustainability in the gym?
Yeah,
it's like,
completely.
It's not just your ability to smash yourself today, but how will you sustain this over the course of a lifetime? In accumulation, 1%
and I've
better
learned that
each day.
lesson really well, or I've deepened my understanding of that lesson with my own self through the last couple of years of training, since I have stepped away from the competitive scene of CrossFit. And it's just like, okay, in the gym, it's like, what weight am I going to use for this? Or should I make that next jump in weight for this last set? Or is actually, it makes most sense for me to just stay here, get another good set in and get some quality, and then come back tomorrow and be able to do it again versus risk putting myself on the sideline because I let my ego get in the way, or I let some former version of myself that I keep like attached to in my brain and my ego, like, oh, I need to be able to match that that split jerk number that I did 2
man,
years
that's
ago
so
when I was
good.
sleeping, 9 hours a night.
I totally hear. And there's a time and a place for that, dude. I've had for years now. I got a sublux bicep tendon and a torn rotator cuff, but with smart training, you can rehab it and train around it and manage it. And last night, I was with my buddies, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start slinging around these 150s. Fuck it, and I did it. Hopefully, God willing, I didn't get hurt, and I'm really grateful for that, and I felt good about it. But I'm like, okay, you know what? Take the win and walk away now. Like get the PR and walk away. Don't be greedy. Be ambitious, but don't be greedy. And that's a selective thing.
And as long as you got it on the gram, then you're set, bro.
Oh yeah. So I'm saying, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do this unless somebody is videoing. So I have these. Who knows if it ever fucking happened?
The problem with that, because that shit pisses me off. I might have had a couple drinks a couple days ago, and I was talking to a guy, and I was like, look, man. If I back squat 455 on Instagram, first of all, what is my ultimate goal as an alpha male, right? You want to see 455 take the hip below the knee.
You want to humiliate dudes at the beach.
Yeah, walk into any martial arts gym, you will not be the alpha male. When I started jiu-jitsu, I got choked out by 100. I'm 6'3", 225. This kid was 12, and he was 120 pounds. So 455 back squat isn't going to get you that. Second thing, 455 is going to make me look like an absolute animal, like Dave says, embarrass people at the beach. False. Look at any, person who doesn't follow nutrition and they just eat like shit and they back squat 455. They don't look amazing. All right, I back squat 455 and going to CrossFit games. That's not fucking true either. So what is your ultimate goal, and does that match your actions? Just like you always say, Dave, do your goals match your actions?
Yeah, and I think what's cool is and
Instagram.
What's beautiful about the adaptability of CrossFit, because it's so universal. It's a base of general athletic ability, right? So regardless of what you're chasing, whether you're a competitive athlete or not, whether you're a skier or a football player, everyone needs this base. It's home plate. Right, that's where you spend most of your time. It's the entree. It's the main, the main course. But what you can do is you can introduce things around that main course to individualize and specialize a program to meet the goals. And one thing I loved, I've been doing competitive bodybuilding for a year now, and I've learned so much from people outside of CrossFit about different ways to elicit that intensity beyond the speed and the load. And what you can do is some of the things that we incorporate in our programs or the additions that we put around CrossFit are things that people, very atypically get exposure to. So things like, hitting tempos, isometrics, hitting different angles, different implements, just training in a different way. Even if it's something like, people will bitch about it, like, oh, half reps. There's absolutely a place for half reps in a training program.
Absolutely.
Because it's different. If it's different and you're not used to it, you can get a response from it. So I think that the message we could maybe leave people with is this idea of broadening their scope of training. And we say this a lot, bridging the gap between aesthetics and performance. Really, it's thinking like there's a lot more to it than just the things we get exposed to typically in a CrossFit gym. There are a lot of other additional things we could kind of incorporate it to enhance our ability to continue to do CrossFit for a really long time.
Yeah. Marcus, what do you think on if you're having people rehabilitate themselves, if you will, from crushing intensity every day, right? They just come to you and they say that. What's the first thing that you look into them? Is it you mentioned like mind and spirit and all that? Like, do you go with the mind first or do you go with the body first? Do you start to ask them questions about their life or how they look at a workout, or do they get anxiety coming into the gym? Or do you start to look at like, what are your injuries? What's going on there?
That's a good question. I think
I'm good.
Yeah, man. Wow. Mind blown. You got a sound effect for that one?
Actually, I do. Hold on, wait. Mind blown.
No, somebody who's been crushing themselves that hard, they're somebody who already have a clear passion and a track record of consistency with training. They already training's in their life. And oftentimes those people are the ones that have, where they're suffering emotionally and mentally because of that burnout, is because they're not able to train with purpose and with passion anymore. So I could dive into the mental and the mental and the spiritual and emotional aspects of it, but I kind of make assumptions, and I know that person's just hurting generally because they aren't able to get into the gym and do what they love to do, which is train. And so I go after sort of investigating the physical part of it to see, okay, what can this person do? How can we get them moving again in a controlled environment, reduce intensity, but allow them to feel like they're working really hard. And if you could solve that little equation, then that person's going to get back in the gym. They're going to have consistency again. They're going to feel purpose when they wake up and they get to go and challenge themselves. And our bodies are so resilient and capable of healing and overcoming that you put them in the environment where they can actually have the resources available to heal themselves, they will start to heal. So for me, it's that. It's always been my road to improving people's overall health is get them back doing something physically consistently in the gym that keeps them excited and passionate and makes them wake up each day feeling like, oh, I did something and I accomplished something. And what's crazy is that I have a lot of people that have come to me and have done my programs that were in the burnt out CrossFitter category who said, I don't ever really want to compete again. Like, it doesn't matter to me, because they feel the negative effects of going too hard, too long in that sport. So they get on a program, 3, 6, 9 months goes by, and they're feeling awesome again. And they're like, I want to compete again. When's the next competition? And they want to go right back to jumping on, you name it, XYZ program that is just essentially, smash your face against a wall every day. And I'm happy for them that they're at a place where they feel like they can re-engage in the sport. But I also want them to see, like, hey, there's a smart way to do this. You don't have to just either do functional bodybuilding or the high intensity, high volume competitors plan. There's actually, the principles within functional bodybuilding can carry you into a competitive environment and keep you feeling good, with minus some peaking cycles that you'll need to be prepared for these competitions, which means you're going to have to suffer a little bit.
And what's also pretty interesting, Marcus, is like, and I can't speak for you guys, but the reason why I fell in love with CrossFit is because it was really fucking fun. I had a blast. I used to go to the gym. No one would talk to me. I'd go in the gym and, I'd walk in and it would be like, oh, I'm going to go do some bicep curls. And it was very lonely existence, right? And it really works. It works so, like the capacity you gain when you started doing CrossFit, it gains for everybody, right? And at some point that idea of fun and fitness got replaced by competition and rank. And I think it's not until athletes are removed from that competitive environment that they can rekindle or reignite their passion for just loving what they do. You should go in the gym every day and you should love it. And you have to love it because it's fucking hard. I don't know why you would do it if you don't love it. I don't know why you would suffer like that. So you really have to enjoy it. And I think in some ways taking the pressure off and finding that enjoyment again is the best thing that you can give an athlete. So on that note, we're going to close out. We're about 10 minutes too late. But Marcus, thank you so much for coming on. You are an intellectual, a handsome man, athletic prowess. Sorry, ladies, he's taken. But hopefully we can meet up and talk shop. Marcus, tell us where people can find your stuff for Revival Strength and functional bodybuilding. What are some of the resources they can go to investigate your style of training?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on, guys. I didn't really know how much we were going to overlap in philosophies and and it just seems like there's a lot of alignment. So yeah, I would welcome a chance to hang and bro out with you guys anytime. And for people that want to kind of investigate a little bit more about what we're about here, then please check out certainly my social media page, Marcus Philly on Instagram, functional.bodybuilding on Instagram. Those are the two resources. And then I have an email, weekly editorial that I email out to my email list, which is a lot of free training content, information, and just my thoughts currently with what's going on and where I see people making mistakes and where they can be improving their health and fitness journey. And they can sign up for that at revival-strength.com. There's an email sign up. You get a little taste of some programs that we have out there, but that's a great place to stay connected with me if people want to go sign up for the email list.
Sweet. Nice. We're gonna have to send you a couple Thunderbro t-shirts and apparel too. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, we are.
I need lots of tank tops, baby. Come on.
Think Revival Strength, but with more cocaine and hookers. That's good. Better watch out. We're coming at you. You know what I'm saying? I love these sound effects. God damn it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Marcus. Thunderbro Podcast #1 is in the books. Peace.